Welcome back, Meridian. I hope that you had a good break and that you were taking Jordan's plea to heart. Do we want to hear from you? Yes. Yes, we really do. I hope that's been apparent throughout as I've asked for session feedback. But what you have to say, it's really important to us. It really means a lot. Enough already. You're probably saying, just give us the answer to the quiz. All right, all right. The question was, how many accounts are on the Stellar network? The answer, 4.6 million. So before an account exists on the ledger, it needs a minimum reserve of at least 1 lumen. And there's actually a special operation that transfers that initial reserve to an unfunded key pair. Can you guess what it's called? Create account. All right, back to the show. It is time for our second community choice panel. And the topic of this one is actually the community itself. Very meta. A healthy community is vital to the success of any open source project. Grows the ecosystem and brings forward diverse solutions and fresh ideas. And in this next session, Sam Connor, founder of Stellar Global, and Daniel Fisher, founder of Public Node, LUMENTHROPY, STELLARMINT, and STELLARMAP, will talk about what it takes to empower an independent community. Leading the conversation once again is SDF's Director of Marketing, Zac Freundt. Welcome back, Zac.
Hi, I'm glad to be back. I'm super excited for this session, and I'm glad I got to do back-to-backs. It's very, very, very fun. So this is a session I'm personally super excited about because you may or may not know this. Previous to be my current role, I was the Director of Community at SDF, and I have been here for a long time, and there have been a lot of really cool people that I've met along the way. And I think it's important to hear their story and how it's grown and how the community has shifted over time. Today I'm happy to and excited to introduce people that I met in the community and now consider friends, Daniel Fisher and Sam Connor. Welcome to the session, y'all.
Hi, thanks.
Hey, how's it going?
Great to be here.
Going great.
Yeah, real happy to be here. Real happy to be here.
So I think we're going to just dive right in and hear a little bit about what both of you are working on and where you started. So Sam, if you'd like to kick it off, tell us what is Stellar Global?
Awesome. All right, here. Let me. So Stellar Global is really a full vision of how we can really bring this diverse community, which is stellar. I mean, we're global at this point. We have people all over the world. How do we bring all these minds together in a constructive, cooperative environment so that way we can all grow together and take advantage of this incredible opportunity we have? Let's see. There we go. So let me go back to this first slide. So a little background on myself. I've been involved in the community for going on over, maybe 2-3 years now. And over the years, I started off doing just mainly tweeting all the latest news. And it grew to the point now where I do live streams, where, as you may have seen, I've interviewed everyone from Bitbon or Lottie with the Cowrie Network, all the way to very own Danelle Dixon, CEO of SDF. In addition, I also do podcasts. And these podcasts, I actually ended up partnering up with Daniel, who you learn from very shortly. And we've been doing that together for almost the entire year now. It's been a lot of fun. So the social dilemma, the Stellar community has always been strong, way before I was involved. But the community was really separated. And I remember when I first uncovered the community, several years ago, and I wanted to learn a lot about Stellar. It was one of those things where I didn't know where to look. Every single, room or whether it was, Reddit, Telegram, Twitter, it just seemed to be, a lot of different voices happening around. And so that's kind of where we start off with. There was, as I mentioned, Reddit, where you got news and links where, were posted there, but it was very difficult to engage. Twitter, as I mentioned earlier, it was great because it had a pre-existing crypto community. Everybody knows of crypto Twitter. And it's a great way to reach the masses, but it was difficult to track real news, a lot of trolling and low engagement there as well. Then you had Telegram, which was rich in features and was actually one of the first communities that I uncovered, was on Telegram. Very popular choice at the time, but it was high in spam and a lot of bad actors. Not too long ago, a lot of us started getting onto Keybase, which was great. It had a built-in wallet, which was fantastic. Privacy, it was easy to identify individuals because of its great tools. But as far as expanding our reaches and really meeting more people, it had a difficult barrier of entry, and the engagement features was very limited. Go to the next slide. So that's where we got Stellar Global, and Stellar Global was really created from speaking to a lot of the members of the community. You know, as I said, this community has been strong before I even got here, and that was evident. All I tried to do was listen to all the different community members that I was speaking with and try to figure out, well, what was missing? How do we allow people to be individuals? Because everybody from every country is completely unique, but yet have a cooperative, inclusive way of sharing their ideas. And that's how Stellar Global was born. We're actually, this is Meridian. We started just before Meridian last year, so we're up on about a year. And with Meridian, I was able to make a lot of connections a little bit stronger, and Stellar Global just kind of advanced that. So on Stellar Global, we are able to catch all official SDF announcements, news on Monterey, and the selection is from sources that you can trust. It's a dedicated Stellar ecosystem, so there's a channel for all the latest news on Stellar projects. We have a place for developers. There are developers that are there, get your answers from the community, directly from SDF and from other people that have built on Stellar. There's tons on there that you'll see. But most importantly, we have a community within a community. And what really makes it exciting is that we have tons of rooms. And each room that we're building right now has its own country, which is really exciting. And so everybody's able to communicate from room to room. We've got Africa. We have a Soy Latino for the Latin community. Stellar Korea, shout out to them. Wouldn't be there without J7 and the whole entire Korea crew. Stellar Ireland, Stellar Austria, it's just so many. Let me go to the next slide. Let's see, here we go. So this is a screenshot from Stellar Global. And as you can see, you can become an ambassador, help build countries all over the world. You can network, create a new venture, find help, learn. It's a great opportunity to plug in and learn, expand your knowledge of Stellar. Build, feedback from top devs, as I mentioned. Get in depth, break off into small groups. You know, once again, it's important that we're all able to coordinate, but at the same time be individuals. Make friends, which is the best part. Take your friendships global. Help shape the network. Help shape the future of the economy and your own area. And then bridge the gap. Let's take advantage of this once in a lifetime opportunity and grow. And this is all live on Discord. Let's see, next slide. So here's a couple examples that I wanted to show you. Stellar Korea. J7 is one of the founding members, and I'm so happy to get to know him. Stellar Global definitely wouldn't be what it is and where it's going without him. That was so much helpful feedback. So here is a screenshot of his Stellar Korea channel on Discord. And he's a founding member. He helped me with a lot of initial research. You know, he helped me to understand a lot about how cultural dynamics really need to be considered when you're trying to build a community and be respected. He's a member of the SCF panel, so another great resource. He translates news and reports them in Korean, which is great with helping to expand the user base out there in his area. And he's a strong advocate to ensure that the needs of the community and his community in particular are acknowledged. Another quick example I'm going to use right here is my man Emir, also somebody who, when I was starting off with Stellar Global, was very intricate in helping me to understand and grow. And he's with the Stellar Turkey. So shout out to everybody in Stellar Turkey. He's a member of the SCF as well. He also translates news and reports in Turkish and is an advocate to ensure that needs in the community are acknowledged. So once again, this is a quick just overview. I just hope everybody takes the time to take advantage of the opportunity and grow this network and be a part of the solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. I'm going to hop into some questions here in just a minute, but I want to give Daniel an opportunity to introduce Public Node and talk about his journey.
Yeah, of course. So Public Node. So let's talk a little bit about Public Node. So Public Node, it's a Stellar community. It's a nonprofit organization supported by the community members. And Public Node was originally started really in the last Meridian, where a bunch of community members saw each other for the first time, got together, realized they kind of had some shared goals. And one thing we wanted to do was start actually supporting the network through hardware. And so we wanted to actually start running some of our some of Stellar validator nodes and funding those and working together as a community to pool resources, knowledge, and all that to do that. And since then, we've actually grown quite a bit. And we actually have 3 full validator nodes now running. We have 2 publicly accessible Horizon endpoints. We have 16 podcasts. Sam, you're rocking it. The last couple, every week, Sam puts out more materials, just super good content there. And Brian, thank you for getting us started on podcasts. From the community standpoint, Brian, you really got us started and got us thinking, and we brought that into Public Node. And we have, as far as paying members, we've got 25 paying members. So really, we've made a lot of progress this year. These are kind of fun areas. So Public Node is global in itself. Obviously, the community members that are part of that all across the globe. But this is just some of the benchmarks for where we are. So I'm up in Portland, Oregon, up in the Pacific Northwest. It was founded at Meridian 2019, really the origin, and our secretary of the nonprofit, Sergio, that's where he's from, down in Mexico City. Sergi runs our hardware. He's down in Australia. And then you can see that our hardware is all over the place. Buotes over in Canada, Lyra in UK, Hercules in Germany, and Artemis and Apollo in that area as well. So, really, we've come a long ways from where we started just about a year ago. So one thing that's really neat about Public Node is, we're all watching the protocol upgrades and excitement to see, it improve and just add features. And there's sometimes that, some kind of fun features or, I don't know, controversial, but differences of opinion of features. And people want to voice their opinion on whether or not we should go a certain direction. And Public Node gives community members an opportunity to do that. So we voted on the first protocol 13, we participated in that vote, and then Public Node validating nodes all said yes and gave a thumbs up. That's what our community members unanimously supported that. And we are about to vote on, we're actually voting right now on protocol 15, the members, and whether or not that's, we approve that. It looks great. We're really excited. Everybody's voted yes so far, so I expect that to be the case too. But all votes are on the public ledger, so we're using Stellar ledger for voting purposes as well as just supporting the network in general. So this is just where we've gone. We've gone a long way. It's hard, when I put this slide together, it was hard to believe that we started in November 2019, and here we are. We've launched all of those nodes that I mentioned. We are an official nonprofit. If you're in the United States, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. It means it's its own entity. It's tax exempt charity, so which is really neat. I think as far as supporting the network and having a independent voice be there from a nonprofit itself is a piece of value and something I'm proud that we were able to get. And then you can see our first podcast happened in May, And, thanks to Brian and Sam, we are now on our 16th podcast here in November. So a lot has happened. I learned a lot of good content, and just let people know. I know people enjoy those podcasts. Sam, thanks again for jumping in there, partnering with us. Super awesome. And just watching people do enjoy them. I can see exactly how many people listen to them, and we get quite a lot of listeners, dedicated listeners from the community listening to our podcast.
Awesome. So I wanted to open up and ask you guys a couple of questions. One of the things that I think I've seen growing with the Stellar community has just been how people continue to carry the torch from people's works. And I think I'd be remiss to say, there was a lot of lift, especially in 2017, from community members that, may not be as active today or maybe in different roles and positions, but it's really exciting to see some of the work that from B1TCC or from Kyle, who was doing Luminaut, or things like that shift over, and you guys basically carry on a lot of the principles and torches from them to implement into your own things. Just a little icebreaker real quick in my Q&A section is, what is an interesting fact about yourselves that the community should know?
Yeah.
You want to go, Daniel?
Yeah, I'll go. So I don't know if the community necessarily needs to know this, but it's kind of fun. So I saw Sam and some other folks did some unboxing of the swag that they got from Stellar. And so let me go over a little bit how that happened at my household. So I've got 2 little girls and a wife that are very interested in Stellar. Even the little girls are. So when that came, I knew that the unboxing could not be done on Twitter like Sam. I had to do it with them there. And there was a lot of excitement. The Fisher household is very pro Stellar. It was after opening that box, it wasn't long before I saw one of the Stellar stickers was on my wife's favorite water bottle. And like Sam, I saw this tweet. You just said this. I too am wearing my lucky Stellar socks at this exact moment. So there you go.
That's too funny. Yeah, so I guess I'll go. Yes, I do have my Stellar socks on. That is the key. Something that's kind of I guess quirky about myself. I am already playing Christmas music. Yes, I am that person that's already playing Christmas music. I play it all the time. And I am watching Hallmark Christmas movies. So we love Christmas in our house. So that's the weird thing. It's not even Thanksgiving and I've already got music playing. So I apologize for weirding everybody out right now.
You got to get into those good vibes, those seasonal vibes. So Daniel, I have a question for you. When or how did you discover Stellar? And when did you decide that you wanted to become or get involved actively in the community?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of 2 things. So one, 2017 obviously brought a lot of hype and attention to the blockchain space. So that got me paying attention to this space. It's like, what is going on here? The other one is I work in the energy industry, and just proof of work that was coming up in my workspace as that time too, some of the pieces there. So the combination of those 2 items made me realize I got to understand this aspect just from our job, and also just to see what the world is so hyped up about right now. So I got into that. That's when I started paying attention to the blockchain space. But then as I was there, I think as a lot of people, community members that are here with Stellar, really started looking at the technology and looking at the technology differences, and looking at how Stellar solves problems and what problems it's trying to solve versus some of the other technology out there. And it really just it resonated with me what Stellar was trying to do as I saw that, and how they were trying to do it. And the biggest one was, the remittance. And, I feel very fortunate to be in the United States and not have, I've had the privilege to not run into too many remittance issues, but I've had a few, and it actually made me, as soon as I realized what Stellar was solving for the world, essentially, and just my limited interaction with running into that remittance barrier, I realized that this really is something that is going to bring a lot of value to people as a whole, and I really enjoyed the fact that the foundation itself is a nonprofit. So a combination of all of those things really made me realize that I wanted to support Stellar and help them as best I could, be successful.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is interesting that I've noticed over the time here is just seeing the level of like interest where people start, okay, this is something I'm interested in versus like, okay, now I know that I want to be a participant in it and I want to actively engage. One of the things I was really hoping to see and that I am really excited to have seen is the shift of focus of community involvement move away from just SDF being like the authority of what's allowed. I think both Public Node and Stellar Global are, that it has the kind of autonomy that I really think a successful community should bring to an ecosystem. So Sam, for you, I have a question. How did you discover Stellar? I still remember first seeing your first Stellar tweet show up on my Twitter feed, and then meeting you in New York City for the math meetup. And I'm just curious, how did you discover it? And how did you end up in New York, let's say, for that meeting?
Sure. I remember that day. It was a lot of fun. So, something maybe some people don't know also is that I've really been in, following the blockchain space since probably about 2013. And, I was really excited. My background, I've been an entrepreneur. I started, my first business when I was still in college. And so I've always been an entrepreneur, and I've always been trying to look beyond to figure out what's next. And so, as the, for a lot of people, 2017 was actually, a negative for me when I just saw all the extra hype and, it just got to the point where it was just about mooning. It was honestly kind of disappointing to me because I really was excited about the opportunities it could bring. And so it was around that time when, probably like 2016, 2017, when Stellar came to my forefront. And I spent a lot of time reading. I love to read. And I went into really good depth of what Stellar was doing, what they were trying to build. And I understood that, wow, this is something for business. This is something from entrepreneurship. This is going to, bridge gaps. And no one was really talking about it. And when I say no one, I mean, obviously it was a community, like I said, but, when I went on Twitter, there was really no one talking about it. They were talking about other things. And to be honest with you, out of frustration, I said, you know what? I'm usually not a forefront person, but I'm going to start tweeting. And I really just started off from that aspect of, really sharing. And how I got to New York was that up until that point, all my entire perception was around what I've read. This is what I've understood from what I've read. And so when I saw the meetup come up, I remember I called my cousin in New York and I said, I got to go up for business. You know what? I have to go and see. I have to go and see who these people are. And is it real? Am I just making this up in my head? And so I walked in there. I got to meet everybody. I met yourself, Colton, Corey, and Jed, and other people that were building. And from that point on, I realized, yeah, this is legit. And this is a great opportunity. And then I kind of ramped it up from there to help spread the word.
Awesome. This next question is for both of you, but I'll start with Daniel. How has the community changed and shifted from your perspective over the past, let's say, three years that you've been involved? Have you seen positive growth? Have you seen things that you wish could be better? Like, what's your journey been like?
Yeah, so if I were to say it, I think the community's actually matured quite a bit from that standpoint. I think people came for the hype and stayed for the tech in a way. So I do think, and I also think that it's starting to broaden beyond just the engineer. I think proof is Sam and I we're not developers yet. We're some of the more of the community members. We're trying to push and lead this on, which I think is telling of where Stellar is on its journey towards, real mass adoption, is the fact that it's appealing and its business case and the solutions it's trying to meet aren't just a fun engineering problem, but it's starting to attract people like myself and other folks to want to help make it, make it successful and really push it on. And I think that's also the case. If you look at some of the big community initiatives, Stellar Battle, Stellar Global, Public Node, a Stellar Day, there's been several, Stellar Torch, all of these things have been done and pushed forward by people that wouldn't, call themselves coders. And so I just see a lot more of those initiatives pushing forward than I did originally. And then the other thing is this has been a long journey, just from, maintaining people's attention. So B1TCC, you brought him up. I think some of that is, it's a marathon and we're running this together. I think some of us have grabbed that torch, so to speak, and are running with it now. And there's some folks that are resting, and I hope to see them come back. And then also get more people to help us carry this torch, because, it is a marathon, but we're getting there.
Yeah. Shout out to B1TCC. Shout out to Walter, Stellar Torch. Man, there's so many great people out there in the community. So absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Sam, what about you, man? What's changed in your time from your perspective? You're obviously very vocal now, and you've got like such a large, a much larger following than, even a lot of us at SDF. So I'm curious, like, has that shifted your view, or like, what has that done for your impression of the community?
I get more excited every day because just to piggyback off what Daniel was saying, the community is evolved to the point now where it's not, to me, I feel like the Stellar community has got to the point where, token is a byproduct. What can we do with the Stellar network? How can we bridge the gap? How can we create? How can we inspire others to build? That's where we're at right now. And I've been just so pleased to, thanks for Public Node and that platform to do the podcast. It allowed me to speak with so many builders on the network. And that's only made me see and understand the true power of the network. So, I think the community is in a great space right now. It's very mature, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting kind of a segue. I think a lot of people don't know where to get started. And you mentioned earlier on, like, how there were so many different networks, like there were people could talk about Stellar or forums or whatever. And you've got these insular like groups of people talking about Stellar from different perspectives. And, I think bridging that gap, both as far as like being represented on the network through something like Public Node, or having your voice heard by others in the community, can go a really long way. But I'm curious, what do you think people should do to get involved? Like, if they're wanting to get involved, how do they? Where do they start in the community?
Well, I'll say come to Stellar Global. We have a lot of core members out there. So get involved there, and I think a lot of the community members that are there, they've been around for a long time. They're real comfortable, and they're all willing to help. So get involved there, and then shout out to the Stellar website. The Stellar website, to me, when I first got there, it was difficult to navigate. It was almost like trying to figure things out. But that whole update is off the chain. I love it. It gets better. So go to the Stellar website. It doesn't get any easier than that. Daniel?
Yeah. I just, same thing, like to the extent, just small little pieces, go get on Stellar Global would be great. Start listening to podcasts. Let us know which ones you like, which ones you don't, what you want to hear. Any feedback, that's great. Become a Public Node member, support us that way. Any of those things. I think also the Stellar Community Fund, actually, its next phase with the 2 different buckets, really allows anybody to participate in that, whether you're a developer or not. So if you're interested in starting something up, especially with the seed funding and the lab fund, the smaller of the 2, really anybody can be a part of it and kind of do something fun with Stellar, whether it's a puzzle or just community involvement, and really just jump in there and do that.
Yeah, I think I want to kind of emphasize on the point of, like, you guys, obviously, it sounds like you have some really deep connections to community. You're working together, you're doing these things, you have different projects that you're both involved in, and other like legacy community members. But I think that I'd like to emphasize the point that all of us all met through the community by just introducing ourselves. It wasn't like, well, Daniel's got the hookup, you should talk to Daniel if you really want to get involved in the Stellar community. And I think that I would encourage anyone to just step up and bring forth your ideas and just start building, because you're going to find other people in this community that want to support that or may have ideas to make those things better. And I think I've really, despite being kind of a smaller, close-knit community, it's grown that way because of everyone I've seen within it helping and guiding each other. So that being said, we have like a couple more minutes left. So I want to ask you both, like, do you have goals for 2021 and what those may be, or forward for both of your organizations? Daniel.
Damn. Okay, I'll go. Yeah, we do. Right now, just keeping the energy in those podcasts. Sam, thank you. Just creating content, trying to get some more content creators to help us do that. It's kind of, Sam is very good. A one-man show, though, is hard to keep pulling that off every week after week. So, to the extent.
Hey, try me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's motivational, put it that way. Yeah, you're very good. But, just more content and just grow with the community, like match our pace with the community. And as we get more members and as we get more growth, keep those validators up and creating content consistent with our community members. So that's really what we're working at in 2021.
Awesome. Sam?
Yeah, Stellar Global, I'm really motivated about that. I'm loving, we had somebody the other day come in, wanted to, wave their hand and say, look, I want to build the Asian community. And so we got a room set up for that. We've got Turkey, Ireland, we've got the Caribbean, Africa. So I'm really excited to see those connections really grow. Beyond that, I'm looking to have more engagement. I've kind of started to do more live videos. And so I'm looking to kind of interact that in. I've got a great live, coming up soon with somebody that I'll announce later on. And look out for the next Stellar Public Node podcast. I'm going to be talking to Turnio. And so, I just want to have more engagement and hopefully as some travel starts to open up, I hope to take this show on the road and get to travel more and get to meet the community and just help to, my vision is to help promote the community. The more people that I could encourage to build and grow, we all benefit. And that's always been my mentality. We all win in the end.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate both of you being here today, taking time and talking about community stuff. It's a pleasure as always talking to you. We could banter forever and ever, but I think maybe we could save that for our next conversation. Thanks again for being here, and passing it back over to Justin.
Thanks for having
Zach.
us.
Take care, guys.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much, Zach. Thanks so much, Sam. Thanks so much, Daniel. I mean, I got to say that the Stellar community is really welcoming. It's really vibrant. It's really growing, and it's something that you can just go out there and participate in. There's no barrier to entry. There's just so much love and so much potential. I personally am very honored to be a part of it.